Well, it's a privilege to be with Felix and Myra Terraza serving at Wallkill. We understand it's been a very difficult year. Could you share some of the details of your medical condition?
Well, about a year and a half ago, I started developing an infrequent pain in my chest, which led me to seeing several doctors. Soon thereafter, I was diagnosed with a malignant tumor that was only going to be treatable by its complete removal. After the surgery, we were hoping to hear good news moving forward. Then, a few weeks later, one of my doctors conveyed to us some of the most difficult words that one could imagine hearing: a life expectancy of just a few months.
Wow, that had to have been difficult to hear. How were you able to get your mind wrapped around that?
Well, as you can imagine, after many intense and tearful prayers asking Jehovah to give us peace of mind, to give us a calm heart and wisdom to make a good decision, we decided on a treatment of hospice care that would allow me to make the most of the time that I had left and to be able to give my very best to Jehovah.
That's remarkable, Felix. And Myra, you're such a supportive wife. How have you been able to be so positive?
I have to say, it's my hope in Jehovah. That is what's helped me. At the moment, we're sharing in the sufferings mentioned in 2 Corinthians 1:7. But the verse concludes, we will also share in the comfort. And we are also experiencing that right now. I have no doubt I'll see Felix again at the resurrection. When I look to the future, I can vividly picture us walking through the paradise earth, enjoying Jehovah's beautiful creation. This is the life, the real life Jehovah promises. And it's this hope that gives me joy and peace.
Can you believe your eyes that they are really going there? We're watching essentially a deathbed interview with Felix Terrazas. They're literally milking a dying man for propaganda. And spoiler alert, this interview took place in 2021. So Felix, unfortunately, as we're going to find out, is long dead now. But while he was dying, because he was serving at Wallkill, which is the United States branch office, one of the main facilities in the New York State area that Jehovah's Witnesses use, because he was sort of known to the organization and indeed serving in one of its main facilities, they shoved him in front of a camera with his wife and made sure they had their tablets and smartphones on their laps so that they could cite relevant verses. I would even estimate, based on the way they're talking, that there's maybe even an auto cue involved here. Because if there isn't an auto cue, they're doing an incredible job of speaking in an incredibly robotic, dry, uncompelling way that we might expect of someone who's just reading words on a screen. But how disgusting. I keep talking, don't I, about emotional manipulation in Jehovah's Witness propaganda. They usually do this sort of thing with children. Thumbnail here, if T-Boy is gracious, to the relevant sushi, giving examples of where they've put dying children on camera to convince Jehovah's Witnesses to cling to the resurrection hope and to stay faithful. This time, at least it's not a kid, at least it's a grown adult. But you cannot help but wonder if Myra ever ends up waking up, the widow, you can't help but wonder how she might feel retrospectively about this particular interview and the way her husband's final weeks or months on this planet were exploited by an organization.
Tell us, how has this experience affected your faith and trust in Jehovah?
Well, we have seen Jehovah's hand from the very beginning, but one time sticks out in my mind. It was the day we received Felix's prognosis. That evening, the Bethel family Watchtower study considered the article, Keep Calm and Trust in Jehovah. And this was followed by a lecture entitled, Remain in Jehovah's Everlasting Arms. Jehovah provided us exactly what we needed to hear that very day. We felt it was an answer to our prayers, as if to reassure us he has everything under control. This has strengthened my faith in that Jehovah will continue to more than superabundantly provide for us care and guidance as we face new challenges, and will, without a doubt, fulfill his promises for the future.
So now, as I prepare to close my eyes and fall asleep for just a brief time, it is a privilege for me to demonstrate to Jehovah my trust in all of his promises and to maintain complete integrity right down to the end.
What an outstanding expression of faith. Thank you both so much for sharing those deeply personal and motivating expressions. You are a living example of faith in action, and we love you. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that, and it's so moving each time. On June the 8th, 2021, our dear brother Felix went to sleep in death just 7 weeks after this interview. And any, frankly, that was around the Terrazas during this time, you would see firsthand the power of faith and their focus and wanting to give Jehovah their absolute best. It was tremendous. Dear Myra continues to show that same faith and endurance even now. And Felix's mother, she's continued to progress spiritually, we understand. Felix will be so happy to hear.
For me personally, it's been heartwarming to see Myra's unshakable faith and the love and support she receives from the Bethel family.
Thank you for that genuine, heartfelt expression, Harold Corkin, which it seems you were reading off an auto cue. It's just so messed up, isn't it? So it's again a deathbed interview. The organization sees nothing remotely untoward about dragging a dying man and his soon-to-be widow onto the camera to use them and their horrendous situation for propaganda value. That's the sort of shameless organization we're dealing with. And let's just say it again for the millionth time, it's emotional manipulation. When you're using emotional manipulation, when you're trying to play on people's emotions, you're basically saying to them effectively, we have no logical reasons for you to believe. We have no evidence to show you. We just want to trick you. We just want to get you emotionally hooked with this story that you're going to find really sad. That's all we've got. That's what the organization is effectively saying here. If you're willing to hear the real message behind this. 7 weeks. 7 weeks from giving the interview to Felix dying. And, you know, if I were in the audio-visual department or the teaching committee, I'd be deeply ashamed about this. I'd be like, no way can we use this. This is really tone deaf. You know, this is just downright inappropriate to be using this. But they go ahead and use it anyway, and we get another example of Jehovah's hand. Apparently the fact that on the day of the prognosis that Felix's condition was terminal, apparently the fact that on that day the watchtower had a certain title that somehow fitted in with their situation, that's proof. That is proof that God was intervening. God couldn't intervene to stop Felix dying. He couldn't intervene in his anatomy and, tweak a few cells here or there, tweak a few synapses or nerves or whatever he needed to do to stop this individual from dying, decades before his time to go. I mean, who knows how long he could have lived. But he could intervene in such a way as to inspire a motivating Watchtower article. We're supposed to find this impressive.